I want to share with you another story that I read years and years ago and it stuck with me. So I was reading about an orchestra, and I can't recall where it was from. I think it was Chicago or Boston Symphony Orchestra. And basically the way that they used to audition people for their orchestra was they would get them up on a stage and they would get them to play a piece of music, and there'd be a panel of judges or selectors or, I don't know, whoever. People that would make decisions about whether or not you cut the mustard or we're going to ask you to come back next year type of thing. And then one year they changed the way that they did their auditions. So rather than doing what they'd always been doing, they decided to drop a black curtain between the person who was auditioning on the stage and the panel of experts and selectors who were tasked with deciding whether or not that person would be selected for the orchestra. And not only that, they removed all of the other pieces of information that might have influenced their decision. So things like their name, where they lived, how old they were, maybe what their religious or political beliefs were, all of that stuff was removed. So therefore, they were literally blind. They knew nothing about the person who was sitting on stage. The only source of information that they had to decide whether or not this person would join the orchestra or not was what their ears were telling them, from what they could hear from the person who was playing from behind the curtain. And do you know what happened? Well, overnight, the entire makeup of the orchestra changed. And the reason that happened was because, in the past, whether they like to admit it or not, all of those experts and panelists and selectors, their biases were influencing their decision making. And so they were more likely to select people who looked like them, who sounded like them, who believed in the same things as they did, who maybe studied at the same places that they did, who maybe come from a place that they recognize, as opposed to people who are completely different, but are incredibly qualified to play in the symphony orchestra.